everybody comes in, just want to welcome you to our next session of DataDreamin today, advanced reporting tips and tricks for new admins. And we're going to be hearing from Aaron Crear today. So Aaron, I will hand it over to you. It's all yours.
Thanks, Chrissy. So welcome to Advanced Reporting Tips and Tricks for New Admins. My name is Aaron Crear. I'm founder of Hat Trick Consulting, as well as ReportFirst.blog, which is a blog on reporting dashboards analytics. I'm also one of the co-organizers of Northeast Dreamin, which our event just wrapped up yesterday, and I'm the leader of the Lowell, Massachusetts admin use group. I'm based in New Hampshire. So all of the topics we're going to cover today are really simple things once you know they exist, these features and functions, but there was certainly a time in my career when I didn't know them. To you, this session is really meant for those who maybe aren't ready to take the jump to Einstein Analytics yet or may not have access to it. So this is all going to be about the standard reporting functionality within Salesforce itself. We're going to cover a bunch of topics today: cross filters, field-to-field filters, power of one and unique values, custom summary and row level formulas, buckets, join reports, and custom report types. We'll have a quick overview of each topic. We'll have a use case or two, and then we'll have some live demo where I show you actually how to build these things in the reports. So the first one we're going to look at is cross filters. They allow you to filter reports by objects instead of just fields. And these objects are dependent on the parent object of the report type. And we'll have 3 use cases for this. So one is a marketing manager wants to identify all accounts without contacts to get some contacts into their marketing funnel. Then a sales director wants to review all accounts with opportunities, but focusing only on new customers. And finally, as a sales rep, all contacts part of opportunities should have activities associated with them, and you want to make sure you've made that proper outreach. So we'll jump into our demo here. First one we're going to look at is accounts without contacts. And we're going to edit this report here, and we're going to see how we added a cross filter to do this. And the first time somebody asked me to produce this type of report, I had no idea that cross filters existed. And the only way I could figure out how to do it was to export the entire database and then create some formulas in Excel. And it was a complete pain in the butt. It took forever. And then sometime after, I found out about cross filters, and I could do the same thing in 10 seconds. So if we click on our filters here, we can see our cross filter down here. And if we were adding a new one, we would just hit the drop down here and hit add cross filter. And we'll just click into it. And we have accounts here. And the only option there is accounts because of the report type, which we can see up here of accounts. And then a cross filter is just simply a with or without statement. So we're saying accounts without, and then we're selecting our secondary object. In this case is contacts. And we can see all the other related ones here. So super simple thing to use once you know it's here, but it gets you those results really quick. So we'll take a look at our next one, which is going to be, we're looking at accounts with opportunities, but we want to focus only on new customers. So we're going to edit our report, and then we're going to take a look at our cross filter. And we can see here, we've said accounts, we've said with opportunities, but we want to focus on new customers. So we're going to add a filter within our cross filter here. And we're going to use the type field, and we're going to select new customer, and we're going to apply that. And now our results are going to change. And the cool part about this is we can see here, we're filtering on the type field, which resides on the opportunity object. But if you look at our account up here, our report rather, this is just an accounts report. This is not accounts and opportunities. So through our cross filter, we're actually able to use a field on another related object as our filter without creating a more complex report. Really, really useful. In our next one, we want to see contacts without activities, but only those that are part of opportunities. So we're going to edit our report again. And we're going to look at our cross filter, and we've said without activities, but we only want to see the contacts that also are part of opportunities. So we're actually going to add a second cross filter here, and we're going to select opportunities and apply. So we can also kind of nest these and stack them together and use them combined. So really 3 good use cases for cross filters, a very useful tool that I think you'll get some value out of. So we'll take a look at our next session with field-to-field filters. This is one of the newer features. So you can compare values of different report fields. This is Lightning experience only. So a marketing team wants to evaluate all campaigns that have an actual cost more than the budgeted cost to help with planning for next year. And we'll jump into our demo here. We're going to look at over budget campaigns. And once this open, we're going to see a table here, and it's going to have columns for the budget cost, actual cost. And we can see here, every one of these has a higher actual than budgeted. And we did that through our field-to-field filter. So when we open this up, we're going to take a look at our filter. And you're all probably used to adding a filter of, greater than 100K, less than 100K, things like that. Same type of thought, but here, instead of filtering on a value, we've selected field as opposed to the value, and we're comparing it to that budgeted cost field. So you're looking at the difference within the fields as opposed to a static value. Next section is power of one and unique count. Both allow you to summarize and count objects in reports. Unique count gives quick visibility in reports. Power of one is a new custom formula field. I recommend you do it on every object in your org. I think it's a best practice to name the field the same as the object, and I'll explain why. It's very useful in roll-ups and additional formulas. So a sales director wants a report that shows the pipeline summary by stage that breaks down the number of opportunities, accounts, and products. And we'll look at our demo. And it's an opportunity pipeline composition. This is the type of report that would kind of judge the health of your pipeline. So if you have too many deals with one or two customers where if that initial win doesn't come through or the relationship goes south, are you really going to take a bath? Or is too much of your pipeline skewed towards a new product that you just realize is going to be delayed in delivery? That can crush a quarter for a company. So we see here we just have a pipeline funnel up top. And then we have these columns here, sum of ops, accounts, op prods, and products. And these are all 4 custom formula fields on these objects through the power of one. We can also see over here we have record count. I never ever use record count when I have a multi-object report because I think it's very confusing to the users what it's actually counting, or it's really just counting rows. But we want to know how many accounts make up this whole pipeline, how many specific opportunities. So we did that by using the power of one, and I'm going to hop over to setup just to show you how we did that. And I heard about this from Steve Moelis. He's an MVP from Boston. He raves about it. He credits a former Salesforce employee named Tom Tobin to teaching it to him. So very, very useful tool. And we're going to just look at our account object here. And we're going to have a field called accounts. And we're going to click into this just to see how we did the formula, which is what those columns are based on. And we'll edit. And it's going to be the formula type of number, 0 decimals. And now the really, really complex part is the formula itself, which is just the number 1 in that big white box. All we need to type in is the number 1 there. And then it's basically going to allow it to count itself in reports. Now I told you in the beginning that I think it's best practice to name that field the same as the objects. So when I first heard about this, I said, wow, this is great. This is going to make my reporting a lot easier. I went into one of my orgs, and on every single object, I created this new formula field. And on every single object, I decided to name it the power of one. And when I looked at this report, I had 4 columns called the power of one. I had no idea which one mapped to which object. So I had to go back and redo it. So I think if you name it the same as the object, it's really visible and the users understand what it's counting. Now, this next feature 100% came out of the power of one. It's called unique count. And we look at any of these columns here, we just clicked on detail rows, and we're going to take a peek at some of these, but we can add our functionality for our unique count in our report, and it just gives you a quick summarization. So if you just need that quick number, we can hit show unique count here. And it's going to do the same thing the power of one does, but it's just going to put it down at the bottom here. So if you just need that answer really quick, great way to do it. If you need to actually have columns or put these numbers in a chart, then the power of one's a better option for you. But unique count, if you just need that quick number, really quick way to do it. All right, we're going to pop back over to our slides. All right, now we're going to get into custom summary and row level formulas. Custom summary allow you to calculate additional totals, summary, matrix, and join reports. They're based only on numeric fields, which can be summarized, and they're unique to the report and they can't be shared. So think about how often you're going to use these. They're super useful in the reports, but if it's something you're going to need to use over and over again, you may be better off creating some formula fields on your actual objects. Row level formulas, my favorite new feature that's come out recently. They allow you to do calculations on every row. You have flexibility outside of numeric fields, which you don't with the custom summary formulas. They can definitely reduce the number of formula fields you have in your org. These are also unique to the report. So again, think about how often you need to use these and where are they going to be consumed. If they're going to be consumed just in reports, this is a better option than creating those fields on your objects themselves. So you want to give the sales team a visual representation of where their sales are compared to goal. And that's going to be an example of a custom summary formula. And an exec wants to see the number of days between when an op was created and when it closed without creating a new field. And that's going to be an example of row level formulas. So we're going to go back to our reports. First one's going to be sales to goal. And this is a really basic example for an org that has a flat goal. So this is basically looking at the horizontal line as their monthly goal. The vertical bars are what they sold. So this is a simple example where their goal stays static. It's the same every single month. And we can see over here, we have the monthly goal, percentage to monthly goal, annual, and percentage to annual. These are 4 separate custom summary formulas. So let's take a quick peek how we created these. We'll open this up and we'll take a look at our first, which is monthly goal. We can see here we just have ABS and then we have 500K. All ABS means is basically absolute value. So whatever you put within these parentheses, that's what it's going to return. We've selected currency, 2 decimals, and our display, we've said to do it at a specific grouping, which is close date, which means it shows up at every row in that table. We'll close out of this and we'll take a look at our percentage to monthly goal. And we've just said amount sum, that's basically what we've closed one, and we're dividing it by that 500K. And again, we're displaying that at the close date grouping, which is putting it in every row within that table. Our annual goal and percentage are basically the same things. We've just said ABS is now 6 million, so 500K times 12. But we've chosen to switch the display at the grand total only, which is why we just see it on that bottom row and not every row in the table. We've done the same for the percentage. We've taken the amount sum or close one, divided by that 6 million. And again, we're just grouping it at the grand total only for the display. And that's the big difference here, where we see some of these show up for every month, and then these two just show up down the bottom here, and that's by that display selection. All right, we'll take a look at our next section, which is buckets. They allow you to categorize a group of values. You can use a custom name for each bucket. It does not require a formula, custom fields. And I kind of compare this to like opportunity stage forecast categories. So when you create your stages, things in qualification may go into that pipeline bucket, and things that are, waiting for PO go into the commit. It's the same type of mentality here, but a custom version of it. So our use case is you want to create a sales by region report. Opportunities in the US and Canada should be combined into NA, and all countries in Europe should be combined into Europe. So we'll look at our sales by region. And once we see this open up, we're going to see our grouping. We'll have a chart here that's grouped by the region itself. And we can see we have Europe, we have NA, we have all. We can scroll down and we can see the grouping here. And if we look at this region column here, we can see the little bucket icon to the left of it. That's telling us this is a bucketed grouping, okay? So how do we do that? We're going to edit our report. And if we were adding a bucket, we would just hit the drop down here and hit add bucket column, but we already have ours. So we're just going to click on this and we're going to hit edit. And we can name it anything we want up here, and then you're selecting a field. So you have to bucket a specific field, and we're going to bucket the values from that field. And we can see here we have a blue bucket for NA, purple for Europe. And if we look over to the right, we can see that these buckets match. So we know that France is in the Europe bucket, USA is in the NA one. What if we need to create a new value, say for Asia? We add a bucket. Now we have our bucket ready. Now we need to put a value in there. So we click back to all values. We're going to click on China and we're going to say move to Asia and we're going to apply. And now we have our new bucket and our new value. And we can see we still have a bucket here of other. And the reason for that is if we open our bucket back up, is because we just checked this box. So bucket remaining values is other. So if we look at all values, anything that we haven't specifically put in one of those buckets is going into that other. So similar to like when you have your charts, say on a dashboard, and it says, let's take all the small values and just call those other, same type of process here. We'll go to our next section, which is join reports. They allow you to view different types of information within a single report. You can create up to 5 blocks, and blocks can be cross-object. So sales director would like one report that shows sales for the month, year to date, and last 12 months. This is really a personal preference thing. Like to me, for the most part, I would create this as a dashboard with 3 separate charts. For whatever reason, some people just prefer one report that gets maybe emailed to them weekly, and they just want the visual of all in one screen like that. It really just is preference for this example, but I'll show you another good use for this in a second. So see here, we have our 3 blocks based on the time period. They all have the same 3 columns, and we're just going to edit this. And the first thing you do when you're creating a joined report, when you open the report builder, is we're just going to switch this toggle. So from a report to a joined report, that's your first step. And then we can add more blocks. So we have 3 here. You can have up to 5. So we can select a new block, and when you hit add, it's always going to go to the far right. So don't be alarmed that you don't see it right away. And we're going to scroll over here, and we can rename this anything we want. So let's say like last 24 months. Okay. We have our block there. We'll scroll down. Maybe we want to get rid of the columns to make them match the rest. So we can take that out, and then we'll add in, say, close date. We'll add an amount. Once this loads. Once we've got our columns in there, we're still going to have one more step because we also want to filter this based on the time period. So we hit over to filters, and we can see the blue icons here. That's showing you the individual buckets. So we're going to scroll down to that last 24 months one, and we're just going to update this to say maybe, you know, current and previous fiscal year. We'll use the last 24. And now we've updated our block. So good use case. Like I said, this is personal preference, putting in a joint report versus a dashboard. But one of the good features for this, I think, is you can add another block. We have 4 blocks right now of opportunity info. We can add a block that has nothing to do with opportunities. So we can use lead, and we'll add a new block in of the lead info. And you can see here the color changes. This is telling us it's a different object. And then we can filter this any way we want. And over here on the left, we can decide what fields we want in there. So to me, that's the best use case for join reports, is being able to go cross object like that. All right, our last section is going to be custom report types, and they allow you to create more complex reports. You include up to 4 objects. Primary and secondary must be related to the primary. You can choose whether the secondary may or may not have an associated record, and then you can also select which fields from the objects are available in the report type. So we will quickly go to our next demo, and we're looking for our activity newsletter. So this is, we're going to look at a report here that's going to show campaign, contact, and activity info. And this is a type of report I'd use for like a callback sheet for reps. So maybe you have a webinar or you go to a trade show and you need to have that follow up. So I'd create a report like this to let them know who they have to follow up with. So you can see here, we just have the contact name, we have our campaign, and then we have the number of activities. And this activities column is actually the power of 1 on the activities object. So something we learned earlier, we're using here, and I can maybe update and filter this report so you're only seeing the zeros. So people that have been reached out to, you know, once the activity is we go to 1 and we can filter that out based on this field. So they're only seeing the people they still have to reach out to. So how did we do this? So we created a custom report type, which we're going to look at. So we're going to pop over to setup. And over here on the left, once this opens, I'm just going to type in report. And we'll look at our custom report types. And then we're going to select the one for that newsletter. And we'll look at the activity volume. And we're going to edit this. So we're saying this is based on the campaign as the primary. And then we're selecting contacts. And we're saying each campaign must have at least 1 contact on it. So if you have a campaign that say only had leads, when you base a report off of this report type, it's going to be empty. So it needs to have at least 1 contact on there. But then we're saying those contacts may or may not have related activities. And that's what gives us people that have been reached out to as well as people that have not. Really important that you do this right. And I think it's also really important that you label your reports properly, because by doing this, you're pre-filtering in or out certain things about your reports. So make sure it's clear to your users what you're doing. If we can't, one of the other features we can do is we can choose what fields from these objects we want to have available on the report layout. So let's say that there is sensitive data like a social security number or maybe a commission percentage for reps. If you don't want those fields to actually be visible when somebody uses that report, you can change that right in here by editing the layout. And it's really simple. You would just drag or drop things in here. So if we click over to say contact fields, anything that's grayed out is obviously already in there. But then maybe you want to add in this individual field. All you got to do is drag it over and put it in there. But one of the coolest features about report types is using this lookup. We're going to click on this, and we have campaigns, contacts, activities in here. But we also have the related lookups. So let's say contact owner. We can look at this, and now we can get basically info from that user record into our report. So maybe the user's ID, the user's title, the username. So the user object is not part of this report. By using this lookup field, we can add those fields in. Super helpful because it will take, your reporting doesn't need to be as complex, so you don't need to stack as many objects. There's a really good blog post by Evan Ponter on reportforce.blog here. And he goes into, it's like a 6-part series about how to use that feature. Super, super helpful. But it'll make your reporting a lot less complex. So I think that covers everything. Trailhead is super useful, completely free. You can go at your own pace. Certification, super helpful. I have 6. Every single one of them, I've learned new things. I had been a sales director for a decade and used Salesforce for 10 plus years and thought I was going to breeze through Sales Cloud. Wasn't so much because there were pieces of that I had never been exposed to. So you're going to learn something from all of them. Trailblazer community is awesome. All of these tips and tricks I got from articles by people that were smarter than me that already had figured these things out from the success community. Blogs like Report Force, Ricky, Salesforce blogger, great blog on analytics, super helpful stuff there. User groups are great. It's not just to network, but also learn about new topics. learning events like DataDreamin, you're all doing that, so you can cross that off your list. And then find a mentor. The best part of this community is people willing to give their time and their knowledge back. So a mentor could be somebody more seasoned at your company. It could be somebody that you see speak at an event like this, from either the user group. It could be somebody you follow on Twitter. But people in the Salesforce community are willing to give their time, so don't be shy about asking for help like that. So thank you all, and I will be available for questions.
Thanks, Aaron. That was great. Let's see. We have a comment from Pete that said, what we're all feeling, joined reports are my bane. And then we have not a question, but a comment from Mark, just a reminder that in the Winter 21 release, fields are automatically added to custom report
The custom
types.
report, that's been such a headache. Yeah. So prior to that release coming out, anytime you build your custom report type like that, it's set with all the fields that you put in that layout as of today. If you go out and say a new field on contacts on Monday, that field doesn't go into that custom report type. Super frustrating, because you try and go create a report with the new field. You know the field exists because you created it, but it's not visible in that report. And the reason why is you need to go and add it to that layout. So that's a huge feature I can't wait to see in that winter release.
I think everyone's cheering about that one. I don't see any other questions in here, but there is some nice chat started in the Slack channel, in the advanced reporting channel. So head over there for more conversation. And don't forget that when this Zoom window closes, the survey will pop up in your browser. And please answer those questions, and remember that the last question is where you enter your email address to be entered to win one of those certification vouchers. And with that, I think maybe Erin, if you'll post your resources in the Slack channel too, just so people have them. And Ricky just posted a link in the chat, and I'll send that over to the Slack channel too, so everyone has it. But thanks for joining us, and we'll see you in the next session.
Thanks, everyone.